clearly she had a very close eyewitness view of the assassination. She was literally standing right there when he got shot.
Murders, mysteries, unexplained stories, and our family's crazy opinions on them all. Join us now. The Family School of Thought is in session.
Hello, everybody. Thanks again for visiting us on the Family School of Thought. Hope you guys are going to enjoy our show tonight. Don't forget to give us some feedback on our topics and give us some topics that you'd like to hear us discuss too. And again, you can push that like button, share us, and
subscribe.
Subscribe. That's what I was trying to think of. I should have it written in front of me when I do that. Okay, let's get going. Cass, you got some history facts for us?
Yeah, Cass, do you have history facts?
I don't have any history facts.
What's your name down the bottom? Jesse.
It's almost as if we have little name tags, right?
I know,
right?
Right next to our faces.
Picture. Jess, do you have some history facts for us?
Yes, I have history unexplained mystery facts for you. I just have one quick one today. I don't know if it's quick, but humpback whale supergroups. Have you guys ever heard about those?
What?
Yeah, so humpback whales are some of nature's largest aquatic animals, and they've been the focus of scientific research for decades. But in the past several years, researchers have begun to witness a strange, unforeseen behavior that they have yet to explain. Starting in 2011, researchers have reported sightings of the whales forming so-called supergroups. The groups consisting of anywhere between 20 to 200 of the animals. So 20 to up to 200.
That's a large group of fish in one.
Yeah, that's especially humpback whales.
Big. Right.
Yeah, 20 to 200 of the animals were largely sighted off of the southwest coast of Africa, and experts say that no previous reports have mentioned such large gatherings. Additionally, scientists are at a loss to explain the location of the sightings, as humpback whales primarily feed near the southern region of Antarctica. One promising theory suggests that the behavior is a result of the whales experiencing a population boom since the 1960s, when whaling was banned by many nations. And that is, this type of supergrouping might have actually been the norm for humpbacks when they existed in greater numbers. For now, however, scientists continue to study the animals in hopes of unraveling their mysteries.
Oh.
So there you go. My theory is they have a cult leader, and it's just a big cult.
Big cult of whales.
Humpback cult fan.
But I always thought a large group of fish was always called a school, but not.
It is.
Well, that's
what I was going to say. A school of whales.
Right. Okay.
So there you go. Nothing about murder. Nothing about aliens. Good old humpback whales.
Good old back.
Interesting.
And especially because it's spring break, everybody's hoping to see something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in nature, or you pay to go watch it at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
Never know. And if you do like SeaWorld, maybe you should watch Blackfish. That might change your opinions.
Yeah.
Not the most ethical thing to do.
No, it's not. I see Dee's drinking wine, so this show's going to get good.
To a family school of thought.
Clink, clink.
Clank, clank.
Okay, Cass, how about you? Do you have a song for us?
She's got some good music for us. I can see it on her face.
What song can you ruin for me this week?
Don't ruin it for us.
I
Yes.
don't know if I can
That's-
ruin it for you.
That's the segment. That's the title of the segment. Cassie ruins a song.
That's right. We need to rename this segment.
Ruining the song. I'm just pointing
Cassie
out
ruins
why
I
you
know.
should really
I don't-
listen to it.
I don't listen to the words. I just listen to the beat. And, I have to have white.
I got to say, the knack, everybody agrees with me at work.
The what?
Everybody agrees. They've been singing that song their entire lives and never knew the real meaning of the song.
Which one?
The Knack.
The knack.
The one that you just did last week.
My Sharona.
Okay. Got it. Okay. My Sharona. Did not do that last week. Did that a long time ago.
I'm just saying. Well, somebody at work just watched that episode.
My Sharona by the Knack. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of this is to point out that what you're singing. I don't know if I'll ruin this one for you because I actually didn't know the song existed. But this week's song is called Run for Your Life by the Beatles.
Oh, I've heard that one. I mean, the Beatles have been playing the radio all the time.
I don't think this one's on the radio. I'll tell you that for sure. This one, it was written by John Lennon.
Is it off the
and it's
White Album?
I don't know, but it seems like a B-side track, to be honest with you, because it's only about 2 minutes and 22 seconds, which is a fairly short song. But Run for Your Life is about a man telling his girlfriend, if I ever see you with another man, you better run for your life.
Oh no.
Yeah. And that's literally the whole song is him repeating the lines, I'm a wicked guy. I was born with a jealous mind. You better run for your life if you can, little girl. Hide your head in the sand, little girl. Catch you with another man, little girl. It's the end, little girl. Like that's the whole song is just kind of that on repeat.
I don't think I have ever heard of that song.
I can't recall the song neither, but I know I was talking to somebody just the other day about John Lennon, and he was a great humanitarian. He did a lot of things, but sometimes he wasn't a very nice person too.
No, he was not a nice person. But that happens with all celebrities. Is they're not really nice people, even if they do a bunch of nice humanitarian things.
Well, they came from a different
just like
era,
us.
too. They came from a different era, but But anyways, he was a great humanitarian, so maybe that overseeded his problems.
He's a great humanitarian, but he does write songs about how he's going to kill his girlfriend if she ever goes with somebody else.
No.
Very, very romantic. This was from the album Rubber Soul, Dad, by the way. I don't think I've ever released in 1965. So
Yeah, that was early. I was thinking it was one of those songs.
Yeah.
Then he didn't know. Listen, they were just a boy band then.
Again,
They really were.
still, they're singing
really
to young
were.
girls
Okay.
about how they're going to kill them. If
Yeah. All those, stupid
I
boy band
tell you
songs.
that all the time.
But they did turn into a phenomenal.
That's creepy.
No, it's not.
Don't forget that's the same man that wrote Imagine.
Imagine, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's so creepy. Is that the same man who wrote Imagine is writing a song about how he's going to kill his girlfriend if she ever leaves him.
Well, he evolved from that point. He was just a kid. Listen, John Lennon was it was my hero growing up. Him and Jim Morrison. So you guys know when he got killed,
Yes.
I literally skipped school for 2 weeks.
He did that with the All Stars.
I know. With Janice, with Jim.
And it was tragic. It was very tragic when he got killed.
Oh, yeah. It changed history for sure.
Yes, it did.
It did. Did you know that Ronald Reagan had, I think it was 5 minutes. I can't remember if it was 5 or 10 or 20 moments of silence worldwide for him when he died. I don't think they've ever done that for anybody.
Wow.
I can remember because I was working and literally the restaurant had to stop and everybody had to be in silence for, it must have been 5 minutes. It seems like it was 20, but I can't imagine.
5 seconds, not 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
No, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be 5 seconds. It'd be like
Yeah.
maybe 2 to 3 minutes.
I mean, it was a while. The world literally come to a stop for 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I don't think they've ever done that over anybody ever before. So it was quite the tragic event when that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You guys ready for this week's stories?
Yeah, are you?
Well, Jesse's missing now. And she kind of had a play in this, but okay. I really wanted her to be here because she inspired most of my story today. And both, I got 2 topics really to cover. They kind of are the same, but separate topics. And we've talked a lot about both of them. But my real story is about the Repooter film, John F. Kennedy assassination film. That's my real story, but and everybody's seen that a million times. But Jesse brought up the Babushka lady a couple episodes ago, and in that film and in almost all the photos that you see taken that day, there's this lady standing there in a trench coat, a scarf, sunglasses, and she's taking pictures.
So do you think she's a spy?
And she looks, to look at her, it would appear she's an older lady. And the way she stood, kind of, a lot of people think maybe she was a man. There's 1,000 theories about it, but most people think she's either a Russian spy or she was a CIA agent or FBI agent. And she's had, just all these theories about her. But she had a very close eyewitness view of the assassination. She was literally standing right there when he got shot. And she's clearly taking pictures as this is going on. And actually she's taking movie films.
Movie films, so then that should be recorded.
She's recording a movie.
Right. So
in the pictures, in the pictures, it looks like she's just got a camera taking pictures. But come to find out, she was taking movies, home movies, while everyone else seemed to be like kind of running around and running away from the scene and, falling to the ground because there's shots being fired. She just kind of stood there motionlessly. And the FBI investigators who they worked like forever trying to find this lady because she was in all the pictures. She was in the film that come out. So they knew this lady was out there, and she looked very suspicious in the pictures, And so Jesse had brought her up, I don't know, quite a few episodes ago. And, that they really have never truly identified this woman, who she was. But in 1970, so that's 7 years after the assassination, a woman by the name of Beverly Oliver came forward, and she first told her story to a researcher by the name of Gary Shaw. And that name probably sounds real familiar because we've talked about him quite a few times on the show too. He wrote a lot of books about the assassination of Kennedy, and he also wrote the book, The Reporter Who Knew Too Much, about Dorothy Kilgallen. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she went to him, or he came to her, actually. I can't remember how they got together, and she told him that she was the lady in that film. And later, when Oliver Stone was researching materials to do his movie, JFK, Gary introduced him to Beverly and said, this is the Babushka lady. And she has quite the story to tell. And the only way she would come forward and publicly tell her story was Oliver Stone promised to protect her, and plus at that time a lot of the people were gone that were threatening to her. But She knew if she ever told her story that she would be dead, and she knew personally people that knew things about that assassination who just up and disappeared. So she wasn't about to, tell her story. And so the reason she ever told it was she was afraid for her life. And she personally seen people just simply disappear who knew stuff. Ironically, or not, she happened to be a singer. She did a nightclub act. And whose club do you think she performed at?
Oh, I can't think of his name right now, but
Jack Ruby's.
Jack Ruby, yeah.
Yes. And he knew her. They knew each other very well. She was only 17.
So and she was wearing 17. A babushka?
Yeah, she was only 17, and she really was in a disguise. She didn't want to be seen out there. She didn't want to be seen out, and I don't know if I got this 100% right, because I've seen a lot of interviews with her in it. But she was a nightclub singer, so she was dressed in a gown and, a wig and, all dressed up. But she didn't want to go out to a parade looking like that, right? So she literally put on the scarf. She had a wig on. She put sunglasses on, put this big trench coat on. So she really did disguise herself on purpose. And she said, like, the reason she didn't move was she was just, she just stood there because she was in shock. She was just frozen. She didn't know what to do. And she's only 17, remember? Right. So Beverly lived with her mother. And she was a singer and sang, she was kind of big in that town. People knew who she was. And so that, again, she didn't want people to know. She had a career starting, so she didn't want to get involved in all this stuff and get caught up in this. And she knew a lot of the, people that were through Jack who were seedy people. She knew they would off her if they knew this happened, But she continued to sing for years in Dallas, and she was pretty well known. But that evening, so this happens, she takes the movies, and she goes home, right, after all this. And that evening, 2 men show up at her door, claiming to be FBI agents. And although they didn't show her any kind of badge or IDs or anything like that, and again, she's 17, so she didn't really know to ask. They asked her for the camera, and they said they would needed it to view the film, and they would return it in 10 days.
Well, how did they know that?
Well, again, this is what she's claiming now. So she says, at only 17, she was frightened to death, and she gave them without questioning it. She just gave it to them. And her real thing was, she had the camera in a makeup bag, and there was some marijuana in that makeup bag, which in 1963 would have been a jail sentence, So she was really freaked out about that. So she kind of just gave them the camera and shut the door, and, she was afraid she was going to get arrested for marijuana. So she was really concerned, but she never said another word. She just didn't say nothing about it. And they never returned the film. They were supposed to return it in 10 days, and they never did return it. And she never tried to get it back. She just didn't want to be part of what was going on. And not just because she didn't want to be part of some big story. She wanted to be part of it because she knew a lot of these were dangerous people, So it never got returned, and she never attempted to get it back. And she never said a word until she met up with Gary, who was doing some investigations. And, she kind of knew he was running around asking questions and interviewing people and trying to get some facts. And she did confide in him, but she said, I'm not ever going to go public. I'm never going to tell people this, but I am the babushka lady that they're trying to find. And so, so that's where it stood until Oliver Stone pulled her out and said, I'll protect you if you come forward and tell your story. And he did. And I'm going to try to share something with you guys. Probably won't work, right? Let's see.
But what did she see that everybody else at the
Well,
part he didn't see.
she really doesn't know, actually. She doesn't know. She never seen the film. She never really, she's seen him. She literally seen him get his head blown off. I mean, it was right in front of her.
Right.
But she never viewed the film. I mean, she never even did that part.
So she never seen where the gunshot. She never seen which direction the gunshots come.
Oh no! She's seen it. She just doesn't have. Well, she's seen it, but it all happened really fast, and she's like, you're just dumbfounded and thing.
Well,
but she never was able to say, here, here's my film. I can show you what I seen, because she never seen the film again.
Right.
Hold on a minute. I'm going to show you something. Of course, it won't come up now. Let me know if something comes up on the screen. I have a picture of the babushka lady, and I have a picture of her at that time. And just, wondering if you guys can't see
the difference.
Are you seeing it now?
Well, yep. There we go.
Okay. So, of course, obviously, the one on the left is a 17-year-old girl who looks a lot older than 17.
I was going to say, she sure in the heck doesn't look 17.
She looks more like 60s, trying to be 20.
Well, her hair, obviously, that's a wig she's wearing in the blonde wig. Is that a wig?
Yeah.
Looks like to me. But she looks like a nightclub singer, don't you think?
Sure.
In the blonde one.
That far off from the lady on the right?
You can't really see her face in the blonde picture.
I think her cheeks look the same. Obviously, her mouth doesn't look the same because she's got an open mouth, one she doesn't. But and the hair, who cares? Because she was wearing a wig in both of these pictures.
Well, you can't see the neck or anything. I mean,
I definitely would not look at that and go, "There's no way that's the same person." I mean, is she the same? I don't know. I could see the cheeks look the right to me. I could see where she could be. On the right, she has a forehead, and the left, she doesn't. But it wouldn't. If somebody said that's definitely the same person, I'd be like, okay.
I don't know.
It didn't seem that far-fetched to me.
I don't know.
You don't know?
It's hard to say because you can't see her eyes.
Right.
And, I mean, it could be just, I don't know.
I feel like the blonde picture, you can't really distinguish any features other than her cheeks, which when you're smiling, like everyone's cheeks kind of go up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. The one at the actual, like the babushka lady, the picture of the babushka lady reminds me a lot of the actress Helen McCroy. Jess, you know who I'm talking about? Narcissa Malfoy.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Now that you say that, yeah.
She did a part in Peaky Blinders, and like it looks exactly like what she did in Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now that
I just thought when I seen those two pictures side by side. Actually, I took those two pictures and put them side by side.
You took the pictures?
Yeah,
now that's a story.
I kept them all these years. I didn't want anybody to know. But
I've seen that blonde picture before, though. The picture when she's got the big blonde one. I've seen that one for sure.
Yeah, I mean that was a very popular look at that time with the big hairdo and stuff.
That's true.
But I could look at that and think, yeah, they could be the same. I mean, it wasn't like it. No way, are they the same?
I don't know.
And she has a full figure where they would think maybe she was older, than 17.
Yeah.
Back then, back then in pictures, people looked a lot older than what they really were.
They looked a lot
older.
Yeah. Yes.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean,
I can see the picture when she's dressed up as babushka lady. I can see that being a young girl. Like it's not unimaginable. Like she doesn't look
obviously was somebody who was in disguise because it was a warm day. It was really warm. Everybody else is out without a coat and they're sleeveless, and here she is.
Even her smile, like that's such a like I'm trying to hide what my face looks like kind of smile.
Yeah. So, anyways, she said it was her. She was in hiding because she didn't want, people to see the nightclub singer standing out there in her gown, And so she did purposely put on this overcoat over her gown and with the scarf. And she goes, I was already wearing a wig that wasn't my hair that day, So, it just all kind of come together. Now, it could be, it could be and it could be. I'm not convinced it's her, but I'm saying it's very possible. And she certainly was surrounded by the people that would be involved in something.
And so what is the whole purpose of taking that movie or the picture? What were they trying to hide?
Well, so she was just taking the movie for herself.
Right.
And we're going to get into
want that.
We're going to get into the Zapruder film real next, but she was just taking it for, to say, hey, I'm taking a picture of the president coming down the street, just like you would in a parade. You're taking pictures.
Yeah.
But she never seen it. She never seen it again. And those pictures would have been much better than the ones we've been seeing because she was right there, literally within feet of him, right there on the street.
She probably was at an angle where you could see the library, which, if we believe conspiracy theories, if she had taken a picture, it would have shown that Lee Harvey Oswald was not in the window.
Right.
So it's probably why the film got taken.
Right. And kind of stepping back, I know you asked me about this, but so one thing she was really afraid of was she said nobody on the streets asked her who she was or wanted to see her pictures. She just goes home and two people identifying as FBI agents show up at her door. How did they know who she was? How did you know where she lived?
Right.
How did they know anything about her? But yet they just showed up at her door. So obviously,
well, somebody else had her on film too. Somebody else had her on film taking movies.
She's on like almost all the videos, all the pictures that you can see. She's always in that picture. And that was what stood out. It was like, here's this lady who's got this big coat on and scarf in a hot day, and she's literally almost in every single picture taken.
But she should be able to identify those two men that came to her door. Why would two?
Well, she should be able to identify them.
Probably if he showed up at your door, you would. She's 17 and scared to death.
I probably
freaked out.
Even still.
Yeah, I know. And she didn't even ask for no ID, and they didn't give her no ID. She just gave him the camera.
Right. I don't know.
But anyways, so I think it's very possible that she is the one. And certainly that Gary and Oliver Stone are convinced she is the one. They are both convinced of it. So she really never came out with her story until that movie, FBI, or the JFK came out, and that was in the 80s. Probably almost the 90s, about 1990, I think.
Yeah, so that's a long time.
It never really came forward until then.
30 years.
And so, of course, now everybody doubts her because, well, you knew all these years, and you didn't say anything. But anyway.
Well, I can understand her. I can understand her theory about everybody being knocked off because they really
people she knew were just up and disappeared. So she wasn't about to come out and say, I'm the person, She just let it go. So now that takes us to the Zapruder film. And we've all seen that movie 1,000 times. It was shot by a dressmaker, Abraham Zapruder. That's where the name comes from. He was a dressmaker. So he had a dress shop that was right across from the street from the book depository building. His secretary that day talked him into going home and getting his movie camera to take pictures of the president when he come by. He wasn't even planning on doing it. So, and he wanted the pictures as they come down. He took pictures as they come down the street, the whole thing. And then after the assassination, he took that film to a Kodak lab. Kodak was a big deal back then. You probably don't remember, but you used to take your film and have it developed at a lab, And so he took that immediately to a lab and had 3 copies made of it. And first had it developed. First he took it to a Kodak lab and had it developed. Then he took that film to another lab and had 3 copies made, right away. And so he went home that night, and him and his family watched in horror this entire film. The next day, a representative from Life magazine met with him, and they negotiated a contract that allowed Life magazine to take the original film back to Chicago and make print copies off of it. So they weren't going to make a copy of the film. They were just going to take the film and cut out pictures. So when they put an article in the paper, they could assign a picture to go with it. You following me?
Yeah.
Okay. So he agreed, and they agreed on $50,000. Plus, he said you can have a copy, one of these copies, not the original, a copy. So he gave him the copy, and he gave him the original, and they paid him $50,000.
So that he did really get the original. Like they.
Well, the story goes on, but okay. So they put this film on a plane to Chicago. Nobody went with them. They just put the film on a plane and sent it to Life magazine in Chicago. I mean, don't you think that's very odd? This is a pretty important film that's going to change history. Let's just put it on a plane and send it.
And
to
people
Chicago.
are gonna, and then it's just gonna disappear, and nobody's gonna know where it's at.
So I thought that was just unbelievable. They would do that. I mean, I suppose nothing like this had ever happened in time, so they didn't have anything to really think about. But after a week, the magazine requested a new contract with him, and this time they wanted the original film and the rights for print and motion pictures. Okay, so they wanted the original, and they wanted not only to be able to use print off of it, they wanted to use it as a motion picture, right? Get the rights for motion pictures, increasing the pay to $150,000. So now he got $150,000 for the original film, which was a lot of money in 1963, you know, and so he agreed on that, and so occasionally, you know, Life magazine would write articles and put a picture. I'm sure they had one on the babushka lady, you know. I have some Life magazines from back then about the Kennedys because, you know, my mother was very into that. But so occasionally they would use these pictures, but they never did anything with the motion picture thing. And they really were very sparingly with the pictures, right? So now that's odd. They paid all that money for rights, but then they never used it. Kind of sounds like somebody bought it to suppress it so the media couldn't get to it, right?
Correct.
So in
Something to hide.
What's that?
Something to hide.
Yeah.
They were
Obviously
because
they bought the
to
film.
get it. Yeah.
They bought the film, and probably it wasn't Life magazine, but they bought it through Life magazine, so nobody could see this film.
Right.
They have it, you know. And in 1975, 12 years after the assassination, a bootleg copy of the film appeared in the media. So now somebody got a hold of the film and put it in the media, but it was a bootleg. It wasn't official. So the world was shocked. For a decade, it was, a prominent film of the day. It was so authentic, and it was the best record we had for what happened that day. Nothing else was better than watching that, right? So the world was shocked by it, but they got it because somebody leaked it, not because of the original film being put out. And at this time, 12 years later, the whole Warren Commission was done. All the investigations were done. Everything was done, right? So, and in 1975, they would show it on TV, but you weren't able to get a copy of it like you could do today. You know, they didn't have VCRs or anything like that. So you just seen it on TV. You couldn't stop it or look at, you know what I mean? You just watched it. So in the 80s, again, when they started doing the film on it, now people had VCRs and stuff. They could back it up. They could play it in some slow motion. They could, do a lot of things, and not just people in their homes, but now, professional people. The technology had improved tremendously, so they were able to go through this film frame by frame. Now they see there's stuff missing out of this film. He claims to have started the film when the parade first came around the first corner, and then it didn't end until they drove off. Well, the only part of this film is in the middle. So the front and the back are gone. The biggest thing in the film, everybody that was there on there at the time when he got shot said the limousine came to a stop, and then he was shot, and then it took off. Well, nowhere in this film does it ever stop.
No.
You know what I mean? So that part was cut out of the film. And there's, I don't know if you guys can picture the film or remember that much, but there's a part where they go in front of a road sign. So it really kind of covers them up. And as soon as he comes out of that is when he gets shot. Well, they cut out a ton of it there because, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, so they, so the people, even at the time, people were saying, that's not right. That car came to a stop. Then he got shot. So that's not shown in the film. There was lapse in the. Oh, one of the things back to that sign was in the original films, when they come out of that sign, there's this huge splatter of blood and brain matter that's flying like 2 feet in the air. But when you watch this video, there's a one frame of that where he got shot. So they cut out all the film of the blood and brain matter like flying back. So obviously he got shot in the front because it flew back.
Right.
Remember, Jackie went out on the trunk and grabbed his top of his head, his brain.
That was in one of the frames, yes.
Right. Well, that part was in there, but the part where he really gets, how they have him like jerking forward and back? Well, Obviously he got shot from the front. He got shot from the back of the neck and then the front to blow his brains out.
Right.
So, and then the worst thing they did was, and again, remember in 1963, they had no real technology to edit film. Like, what they did was they put, like, it may have been black tape or something, some kind of little black thing on each frame to cover up the whole huge hole in the back of his head. So you don't see the back of the hole in the head, but you do see this little black box that's covering it. But, when you're just playing this and watching it on TV, you don't pick up on that. Right? And we know his original autopsy or examination in Dallas is much different than the one they had in Washington. And the one in the Dallas, they claim that he has a big gaping hole in the back of his head. And the ones in Washington said he didn't, he had a small. Well, obviously his brains got blown out. It wasn't like he just got shot and, they were gone, and Jackie and everybody in the car was wearing those brains. So now Life magazine sells, because now it's out for the world to see, right? So they sell the original copy back to the Zapruder family for $1. So in 1978, now they've had it, 3 years, they decided to put it into the National Archives for safekeeping, right? And that's where it stayed until 1992. Where Congress passed a law that said they had the rights to that film because it was a murdered president, which I don't know that I really blame them for that, but that started a lawsuit between, and then the National Archives would not give it back to them. You know, they said, no, we can't. It's in litigation. And in 1998, the U.S. government took ownership of the film, and Congress gave the Zapruder family $16 million. $16 million was given to the family because Congress took ownership of that film.
I know, but didn't he have another film hidden somewhere?
He still had the original. I mean, no, I mean, he had the copies. This was the original film.
Right, but.
So, now remember, he took that day and had it developed and had 3 copies made. And the film at the time it had like an A side and a B side. So it took the whole roll of film and then it went backwards and took another whole roll of film. So he had half of that film was his home family videos, and the other half was the assassination. And just the way they did it, they called it 16 millimeter. So he made a copy of it, and they would have had to split that down the middle to make 2 rolls of film. So instead of being 25 foot long, now it's 50 foot long. Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's what he took home and watched. So in 1997, 2 CIA agents, now retired from the CIA, came forward and said, we had that original film Sunday night in New York at a lab, a secret Kodak lab in New York. And they had the original uncut, the 16 millimeter. And what they did was their job was to take these frames and put them on like poster boards. So when they're given like a presentation, they could say, this is frame, 16:8. The president's standing here, so they could show it to a group of people. And they could see exactly when his head was, when he was shot and, get the pictures of the surroundings, I guess. But anyways, remember, he took it and got it developed in Dallas at a Kodak lab. But the next day, the original that he already had home playing, or he thought he had the original ended up being in New York, uncut, untouched. So obviously he took it to a Kodak lab. They contacted the authorities, or if the CIA was involved in the whole murder thing, they probably watched him the entire time, take it into that lab. They went in and said, make a copy of that. And we want the original. And they took it to New York, not to a plane to Chicago. But so the original film he had all this time probably wasn't even the real original. So you following all that? So, and these guys were very credible people. They were like, they worked for the government. The 2 guys that brought it to them were Secret Service agents. They were like on the top of their, game. These were not like just some janitor and a flunky, like today they probably hired some kid to work the counter. These people had really well reputations in the government. So these were not flunky people. And they said they spent entire Sunday night up to like 5 a.m. going through this film and making, looking at it. And he said the biggest thing that really stuck out to them was the blood splatter when his brains were literally, going 2 foot in the air, and they were blowing back. That was really a pretty important thing to write on there, but that we never knew that. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever said that. So let's see, 2 secret agents. Okay, and then in 2009, 2 secret service agents said they had watched the film that weekend and recall seeing that enormous blood and 2 to 3 feet in the air as the bullet entered his head. So, now we know the film really never was bought by Life magazine. The film was bought probably by the CIA, and they used Life magazine to buy it. But their whole purpose of buying it was, we don't want anybody to ever see this film.
Well, I know, because we really have never seen that film, because we've only seen the part that it's rolling and Jackie going off onto the limo.
Right. Well, remember this. He got shot in 1963. Nobody's seen any kind of footage until 1975. So all through this investigation, all through all this turmoil, and the Warren Commission, nobody ever showed us this film.
Right.
Because they knew that film would prove them wrong. And I don't think they ever planned anybody ever seeing it. But somehow it got bootlegged out in 1975, and that's when the world seen that film. And even then, they're like, obviously his head jerks back, but they had a way how it jerked back and forth, kind of thing, which I'm sure to a lot of people made sense, but a lot of people, that's where all the conspiracies come from. Obviously, what you're telling us is not true. But now we have little proof that this is not true. So I think more and more the CIA must have been behind it. And not only just that, but like them following him to getting that developed. I mean, them following her to her house and getting that film. That's all. Who else could put all that together? You know what I mean? But the CIA or the FBI, I mean, they probably ran at it together. But all those things that happened, only the CIA could have that kind of, clout to do that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah. Somebody did. Somebody had. I mean, who would know? I mean, like you say, who would have known that it was that singer from the club?
Right.
Unless they were.
Again, just like we were talking about Lee Oswald and all the people involved. I mean, even if it was her, well, did she know ahead of time what was going to happen? I mean, she was linked to a lot of people, was she really an agent for the CIA? I mean, she could have been that early, or was she just, like she said, out there watching the parade, Who knows?
I just don't understand how they knew who she was. Somebody knew who she was.
Obviously, they were following her. Somebody was following her, because I really don't think they would have even recognized her, even if they knew who she was, because she was incognito. But obviously, they were watching her, and they probably followed her home, and said, "Here's where she lives. Here's where she went to." Then they went back, saying, "We know you took some film. We need to see that." And at the time, they said, "We're going to take it, and we'll have it back to you in a week. We just want to analyze it. We want to see what you saw and see if there's any, for legal reasons." Well, of course she's going to do that,
Right.
I mean, you probably would do that. You probably would ask for some identification. But, I mean, obviously you have something pretty important, But she didn't, out on the streets before she went home, nobody stopped her and said, "Hey, what's your name? We see you're taking a move." Nobody said anything to her.
Well, like you say, something like that happens, you're in shock until
Yeah. Well, everybody that was there, and you can see it in the movies and all the pictures, were in total shock. I mean, they were just dumbfounded.
I surely wouldn't have. I mean,
So,
I would have been just standing there thinking,
of course,
is
you're
this
not
real
going
or
to
is
act
this not?
natural. Obviously you're not going to be acting natural. You're in shock. You're in disbelief of what you just seen.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I can see all that.
I remember going to a Broadway show in New York City and gunshots going off and thinking
they're making a movie.
they're
We're
making a movie, and it was real. It was somebody
Right.
shooting. So
Right.
you just don't. I mean, you don't think you think, oh, okay, this is
Right.
what are they doing?
Right.
Are they filming or
But
what?
she claims that she was just in shock. That's why she was standing there.
I
Everybody else
can
was moving
understand her
around.
point.
She was
Yeah.
just like, yeah.
I would have been done. I would have done the same thing at any parade. I mean, we go to a million parades.
And nobody else has ever come forward to say that they were that person. And nobody's ever come forward to saying, I know that person. And certainly her picture's out there for everybody to see. Nobody's ever,
Well, you would
acknowledged
have
they
thought
knew.
that family would recognize her. But she probably wouldn't let anybody know who her family was. So guess not. Interesting.
There's lots of interviews with her on the internet. So.
Or do you think that she could have been a spy and now somebody's taken credit for it? Or
I mean, the fact that she knew Jack Ruby tells me
but a lot of
she could
spies
possibly known what was going to happen that day.
Well, yeah. I think
And
she
so-
probably did know what was going to happen.
I mean, I'm not saying she did. I'm just saying possibly she knew but she claims he was not involved. He literally shot Lee Oswald because he loved President Kennedy. He just thought, this is our time. And a lot of people did at that time. My parents did that. Like, this president was young, attractive and, hip, in 1963. So they just thought, he could do no wrong, They thought it was a change of times because prior to him, president was old and, the Kennedys were young and they had new ideas and they were, Jackie was a fashion, she was all into fashion and stuff. So, the young people were really attracted to him. And Ruby really liked him, and he was just so upset that somebody shot him. He just kind of lost his mind and went and shot him. That's what she claims. He never spoke about him, in bad terms, or he didn't have any beef with anybody. He was a super, super nice guy, and he helped a lot of people in his club, and a lot of stuff. So she said he had no clue that he was going to be assassinated that day. And he was just so upset about it that he just took his opportunity and went and shot and killed him.
Wow.
So that's my story. The Kennedy stories you could do are unlimited. I mean,
True.
We could make our own just a series on them.
Oh, yeah, and everything would be changed in a different
series, neither
prospect.
personal theories.
Yeah, but every prospect would be different, because whatever depends on what movie or what information you got.
Yeah, I mean, I think a real interesting story about the Kennedys is, Ethel Kennedy. Well, actually, I think it was the mother who really started it, but they started the Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why they started that?
Well, because of Rose.
Rosemary was a sister but when John was running for president, she had autism.
Mm-hmm.
But she lived on her own in Europe. I mean, she could function on her own. But she was the kind of person, because of her autism, no telling what she would say in an interview, or no telling, what kind of thing might happen to her, in a public place and type of thing. So they thought it would be a good idea to have a lobotomy done on her. That would calm her down. Well, it did. She was unable to function the rest of her life and lived in a institution the rest of her life. And so, it's like, well, did they start the Special Olympics out of sympathy for what they did, or just to make up to God for what they did, or what was? And regardless, the Special Olympic is a good thing.
It's a great thing, but what they did to their sibling or their family.
They thought she might be an embarrassment.
Well, and that's sad that they did what they did.
I don't think anyone willingly got an lobotomy by themselves. So I think the procedure in itself was already considered to be dangerous.
Yeah, I know, but they made her get it.
Yeah,
they didn't ask her. They made her.
No.
The father.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think anybody willingly was like, yeah, let me go
that sounds like
my brain a little bit.
They do brain.
They should have never been able to. Nobody.
It shouldn't have ever been a procedure.
Exactly.
No.
That's what I was.
Right.
That was
And
my exactly.
I don't know very many men that got the procedure either.
And how could have they done that? No doctor in the right mind should have been able to do that.
That's what I'm saying.
And
they did it a lot now.
People
they
should
do it a lot now. I don't know,
things.
But they did a lot of experimental stuff like that back in those days. So
a lot of our like big procedures, like health procedures now, were experiments on human subjects.
Good thing you girls didn't get too mouthy with me when you were growing up.
Yeah, don't worry, girls. I would have protected you. I would have smacked him upside the head. We would have been doing an lobotomy on him.
Yeah.
A little bit more than that.
No, but I don't know. So that's a sad story in itself.
Yeah.
Yes. So think that people that have money can just do whatever they want.
Well, and
and not be accountable for it.
It could have very well been a doctor came to them and said, listen, we can do this operation. It's going to slow her down. But she'll be fine. And it didn't happen right. It went wrong.
It's the fact that they did it for a public image. They didn't do it because they actually thought it was going to be healthy for her. Exactly. They did it for their public image, which is the crux of all of their problems. Like they are in the whole, like a family riddled with misfortune, but the misfortune is that they rely too much on their public image instead of their mental health or physical health. Because even JFK, like if they had let him, have scoliosis and not be medicated all the time, he probably wouldn't have died either.
His brother was supposed to be president, and when he died in the war, it's like, Jack, you're next. Get up. You're going to be the next president.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, Bobby would have made a much better president. But whatever. So crazy. They have a lot of stories like that.
They have a lot of stories.
Yes, they do.
I mean, JFK Jr. is still alive. That's a story in itself.
Lots of secrets in that.
He's going to be our next vice president.
That would not surprise me. But hey, anything's possible.
Anything is possible. Really, you are right.
Anything is possible.
Maybe JFK is still alive. We don't know.
And Elvis.
And Elvis.
Nah.
I tell you what, I've seen somebody show me a video recently, and I'll be darned if that is not Elvis Presley. Like, wow.
Is it what's his face that played Elvis?
Yeah, don't tell Austin Butler. He already thinks he's Elvis.
He like Elvis today. What he would
I
like.
know what you're talking about. There's it's like an old video of some like old guy who he does really look like Elvis.
Sounds exactly like, and really looks exactly like he would look.
But he's probably a doppelganger.
That's possible. That's possible.
Yeah.
It could be a Doppler, right? You say.
Not a Doppler, a doppelganger.
Yeah.
Doppler is a
Doppler
weather
is a weather.
instrument.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. But anything's
Our
possible.
listeners and viewers may not.
Of course,
Yeah.
when Megan
Translator.
Megan
A lot of them
Trainor
know
is,
the mom interpreter.
dies of an overdose of heroin after we find out she's been a drug addict all these years. You can step up to the plate, Cass.
Yeah, Cass.
I don't want to be a mom, so I have to take care of her 2
I'm so
children.
happy for her. She's having next one.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's exciting
little
for her.
Riley is super cute. Her
Yeah.
little red hair.
What are we?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Who are we talking about?
Megan Trainor. She has 1 kid now, and she's pregnant.
She's pregnant.
Yes, she is. Yes.
I just said when she pulls this, I got killed in an accident thing, and we all think she's dead. Cassie can step up.
Or maybe they kill me, and she takes over my life.
Right.
She wants a break. She
Hey,
wants
listen,
to podcast with the
I
family.
I know you want out of all this fame and all this stuff. I got a place for you.
Yeah.
You just have to do a podcast on YouTube with this crazy family.
Mhm.
Then I was telling somebody about my plan that we have to have a big scandal going for our podcast.
Yeah.
We're not having a scandal. What's
We
the
need a big
scandal?
scandal to start.
Okay, what did you do in your
we need
past?
something to go
What
viral.
did you do in your past that we could scandal about? Lots of things, I know.
I know you 2 girls have got a lot of hidden secrets.
No. I knew everything that they did.
Sure.
Sure.
I don't think they have anything big enough to cause a scandal.
No scandals there.
Well, one, I don't want to share information to cause a scandal about myself.
Right, because you're a good
Come
girl.
on. You got to take one for the team somewhere.
Yeah, no, I think I've taken enough for the team.
Our girls are perfect.
That they are.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, thank you.
They are.
Tell my husband that.
I already
Both
did
of
a
you,
million times.
listen,
They're-
both of you girls.
Anybody that meets you are lucky, lucky, lucky men.
I want both of you girls to go downtown tonight.
Cass, don't
Cass,
like that.
you're in
please,
Portland.
because-
And I want you to cause the biggest ruckus you can find.
No.
Uh-huh.
So
So I can
Pretty
end
big
up
in
on
Portland.
Facebook.
on
Yes,
the
don't listen
news.
to your
and
father.
We have murder here.
Don't listen to your father.
And I'll end up on Facebook news.
Yeah.
Well, which one's worse? So.
I can contact my reporter from the Facebook that I know. And
Mhm.
he can make it go viral.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't
And I
think he
know people will
understands the
believe it
word
if it comes
viral.
from his channel. Anyways, anybody got any questions or any thoughts on today's topic?
It was good, but
Okay.
crazy.
Well, let's wrap this up then.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate the comments that we're getting. And I know I personally am talking to people who like our channel. So, all right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot for stopping in.
Bye.
Bye.
Alexa played the Family School of Thought.